Hello. Hello, and hilariously enough, last time when I gave the little plea of where the hell are you people coming from, based on previous videos in the series getting, surprise, like 30 views, I know, so much, yeah, that last one got 8, so, I will never get an answer, I will never know. It doesn't matter. We're carrying on. I am doing this for the heck of it and for my own fun primarily, so. Woo! Alright. All that said and done, let's go ahead and get back into Apothecaria. We've got, honestly, 3 more sessions of this, 3 more blocks of time given our current pattern. So, goals this time. We have entered winter. We don't really have any more reputation to level up. We are basically just going to be rolling in silver and creating upgrades. Story goals. Find out what has happened to Agnes, and if there's anything that can be or should be done about it. I would like, ideally, to wrap that up by the time we hit Frostfall Festival. So, to that end, we are now going to be, anytime we get a Joker, we're going to be getting from the finale chart. So that is going to probably close us out, generally. There's a possibility in that chart of, like, either finishing it, doing a rescue, helping on the mission, unfinished business, whatever the case may be, depending on what happened to the witch, ultimately. Also, to the end of actually kind of getting there, I'm going to say, at the end of each session, I'm going to go ahead and do a bonus pull on the finale chart, even if I haven't, regardless of drawing a Joker. If I get Jokers along the way, even better. So, that being said, I think the only other, like, left open goal is maybe getting a moonstone. It's not really that important, it's just the fact that I have 4 entire vials of purifying water intended for moonstones, and not a single moonstone to my name. That requires a lot of wandering around in New Breaker Mountains. I'm not sure that I really want to dedicate myself to that entirely, but that is a thing. If we can get it, bonus, yay. Otherwise, we do technically have the Museum of Magic completion. It is unimportant. It gives you no actual benefit in the game. It's really just, hey, you get a little certificate if you complete it, like, in character. So for what that's worth, that is technically there. I did realize, kind of with my surplus reagents, I could funnel some of them into this. I've grayed everything out. I will turn various entries dark again as I collect and turn them in. So, technically, that's an option. That is a thing that we can do. Without much further ado, let's just go ahead and get moving. So, we are in the Expert Ailments. Need to draw a card and see what ailment happens, and then figure out who is suffering. So, on a 5 on Expert Ailments, God damn it, not clock shock again. Alright, I don't know why, but for some reason, time seems to be against us and against everybody that we encounter. What is a diamond? I think a diamond is a traveler or a visitor, somebody not necessarily from the town of High Rannoch, not a monster or anything, just somebody passing through. So, we need to come up with a passerby who is dealing with clock shock and rapidly de-aging. Okay, so let's see, what have we got for a name? I've got either Shara or Thorius. I can't remember if I've had a Thorius before. That is a silly enough name that I almost recognize it. So we're going with Shara, which is basically Sarah with an extra H in there. So, we have a traveler, Shara, who is suffering clock shock. Let's say that this one is, this one might be an adventurer. She took I'm gonna say she went and got into the strange and she took a deal that maybe she shouldn't have. Something that was going to recapture her lost youth, and oh boy is it. Oh boy is it, and it's doing a little too well. So I'm gonna say she was an aging adventurer who went to the strange and bartered for some magic to recapture. It'd help if I could spell her lost youth. I can spell. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. It's my fingers that are tripping over themselves. Genuinely. All right. Okay, so since this is technically a new season, there is a possibility that we are going to have some trouble getting some of our old ingredients. Let's just go ahead and see what I put together last time. We can make a perfect potion, crushed songberries, crushed fossil fish scales, and sun sugar for sweetness because it requires sweetness. So we still have some sun sugar, so that's not a problem. So songberries, fossil fish scale, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Time to see if we can do a time jam as prescribed. Let's see. Songberries are Glimmerwood Grove. I would not be surprised if they're harder to find in the winter. Yeah. Oh, they're actually easier to find in the winter. They're -2 in winter. They're an automatic. They're a gimme. Like they already were, but wow. Okay. Interesting. Fossil fish. That is the loch. I think that's down a little bit. No seasonal changes, so quite frankly... Okay. Alright, quite frankly, we're going to have a very easy time now. So, depth's 9, but that goes down to 7 because it's a magical reagent. And songberries for gimme. Forest gimme. Basically, we do a single event and we get our songberries automatically. This is going to go relatively easily, I think. Let's see. Time as well. Let's see. Timer is technically 6. Plus 3 plus 2, we're at 11. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're gonna be okay, honestly. So, I believe that we should head directly for Dreamwater Depths. The important thing right now is just going to be getting that 7 for the fossil fish. On a 5, we don't quite have it. Let's up those foraging points a little bit. Okay. 5. Rounding one of the corners, you see a dazzlingly colorful merfolk dancing in the street. They spot you and invite you to dance with them. What are they celebrating? Well, I think last time they were, this'll be a different merfolk, I think. Perhaps. I don't quite remember what the first one was celebrating. It's been a while, though. So, let's see. Merfolk dancing. I'm having a little trouble thinking of something, to be quite honest. I think that perhaps, usually you are this kind of ecstatic when you get some good news, when something good happens. That could be any number of things, to be fair. I think the merfolk in this case is dancing. I don't know. Let's make it simple, just for the sheer joy of it. The depths are, I imagine, fairly insulated from the changes of weather above. Nevertheless, perhaps this merfolk enjoys seeing the patterns of ice far above when they go towards the surface. Maybe they are happy that this change is coming upon the loch again. I might not be able to particularly relate, but, you know, to each their own. Alright. That's 1. Tick that down. 6. I always do myself in by not remembering when I've moved this down, beginning or end of the thing. So, just need to try my best to remember. So, on A6, we still haven't quite found the fossil fish. Instead, we have found the goddamn kelpie once more. I am getting a little bit tired of this thing as well, to be quite honest. This is not quite the Baron all over again, but this is the 3rd time that I have run into this kelpie and had to dodge it, decreasing the timer by 1, and ignore it as it pleads sweet nothings outside of a sunken house, a sunken home. Very much more of this, and I'm gonna have to find a way to deal with the kelpie next. Unfortunately, I guess fortunately, actually, it doesn't really do much, it just wastes your time. So we are ignoring it, and we are carrying on, and this fossil fish is proving very elusive. Alright, so we aren't getting it this one, but we will get it next one because we'll get over that 7. Regardless. However, ooh, on a 2. An ancient ghost drifts out of the darkness and passes straight through you. For a moment, you get a vision of the city before it ended up in its current state. What do you see? Before we saw a vision of it in its heyday, in the light, in the sun. I think this vision, we see the ground beneath it cracking. We see moments of chaos, panic, and fear. Rain falls from above, the sky is dark and thundering, and the ground is ripping itself apart, rising at the far edges, sinking beneath the city as the water begins to fill. It's there and it's gone again. So that was 1, 2, lost time 3. I think we're in the right place. Alright. Last draw, and thank goodness for the foraging points catching up, because that would actually put us over just enough. And once again, we have another vial of purifying water. Frankly, we don't need to take them at this point. But once again, we have found the marble fountain in the blue-bricked building with unusually clear water that doesn't mingle with that of the loch. So, once again, we have another vial of water for a tool that we have never come across and are unlikely to. Go figure. However, with that, we have our fossil fish. Managed to snag it as it's lingering about the fountain. Okay. Songberries. Songberries are going to be extremely easy. It's really just a quick little visit to the Glimmerwood Grove. That is one jot of time for moving. I do not think we have the grove linked to anything. We do not. The depths are technically linked to the Blastfire Bog, but nothing in this chain has the Glimmerwood Grove in it. So, we do have to spend just a little bit of time rising from the depths, drying ourselves off, likely with magic, and zooming over to the Glimmerwood itself. This place would be greatly changed from when we first arrived. In the spring, it was green, growing, and returning from winter. Now it is descended back into that quiet. The leaves have mostly fallen. There might be a few stubborn Klingons just holding to their twigs and branches. The snow hasn't fallen in earnest yet, but the nights and mornings are frosty, with bare branches overhead and dry, pale grass underneath. The forest is very different indeed. We get one event, and we will be able to find the songberries immediately. They seem to be very common in the winter. The forest is probably bursting with them. We wander about, searching for the nicest, juiciest ones, most potent that we can manage. Without realizing it, we've wandered into Weaver's Wood, the domain of the giant spiders. And unfortunately, yes, timer down by 1 for the event. Unfortunately, you can hear them whispering to each other about how best to eat you. How do you escape? Decrease timer by 1. We escape by virtue of having a goddamn broom. We finish plucking berries, pretending we don't hear them. And then take the broom, mount up, and jet on out of there before, low to the ground before we can get caught by anything. Alright. So, dealing with all of that took quite a bit more time than usual, especially for something so easy and quick to do. So with that, we're not going to waste any more time on any of that. We're going to scoot right on home. And we are going to put one little jot down for the sun sugar. There we go. One bit of sun sugar used. Let's see. We've got a sweet from the fox. So overall, that is 1 from the songberries, 1 from the fox, 3 from the sun sugar. That is 5 points of sweet. This thing is basically a sugar bomb of jam put onto toast and fed to Shara as her cure. All right. All right. Now, math time. This is the fun part. Number 1, it was a perfect potion, so that is 2 points on our reputation. We are climbing ever towards the stars. There is no tier beyond expert. This is just basically wiggle room for in case we ever fail something. Silver. Silver is the fun one. Okay. So, the base cost is 50. We are getting 4 points of 4 silver per point of sweet. We've got 5 points of sweet. That's another 20, so that's 70. We've got a plus 10 for the treatment room. That makes 80. And then this most ridiculous thing is that Elgiva, the apprentice, has been spending her entire time basically looking after Shara and spinning such stories and tugging on such heartstrings, that Shara adds a tip, 50% tip, I guess. So, adding another 40 silver on top of the 80 is 120 silver. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is insane. Thank you very much. 120 silver for a single potion. 72. She's a lifelong adventurer. She has raided so many hordes. She's good. She's fine. She can afford it. I can only assume. Oh god. Guys, I think we're going to get a lot of upgrades done. I really think we're gonna get a lot of upgrades done if this keeps up. To be fair, that was a very, very, very sweet potion. Wow. Okay, with that, we hit our downtime. So, fair number of things first of all. I think that it's only fair that we start cataloging some things and sending them to the Museum of Magic. Let's see, what's our reagents on hand? There it is. Let's go ahead and see what sorts of things we can just spare. I'm going to go for anything that we have 2 or 3 of automatically. Wild Rose, easy. I'm going to bring that down to 1. I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to find it in here. It's fairly high up on the list. Get ourselves squared up. There we go. Alright, so we're going to do Wild Rose, foreground black. There we go. Alright, I think I should be able to do that automatically now. An Innocent Suffering. We can bring that down to 2. That should be... Let's see, it should be somewhere in the mountains area, I would think, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, hold on. There we go. An Innocent's Suffering. If I just do recent color, nope, it makes it highlighted. I want background transparent, thank you, but that does make it black. Okay, there we go. Now that's recent. Gotcha. Alright, An Innocent Suffering. I can get 1 glitter snow in here. Let's go, let's go. It might be up a bit, actually. Because I genuinely don't know where glitter snow is. It might be in the forest stuff. I just did my best to copy these without duplicating anything. There we go. But that means that things are all out of order, and probably the smart thing to do would have been to alphabetize, but I did not go to that level of effort, to be quite honest. And normally, that would be fine. Alright, we've got moon moss. Not moon lotus, moon moss. There we go. One moon moss. We've got a surgeon sap we can get in there. Surgeon sap might be complicated. Love the concept. Really did myself in trying to go, oh yes, I need to find a thing in order to put it in the garden, which again, I do think I would want that to be the gameplay, as opposed to at the end of a season you get something. But that's just me. Anyhow, I changed Nimbus Fish. I really should try to find things before I change them, just because I am having to hold things in my mind. And I'm not sure I'm particularly good at that. Okay, Nimbus Fish. Gotcha. Okay, let's see if I can find fossil fish and sea beast saliva. Both of those should be in more of the watery area. There we go, fossil fish. Sea beast saliva is just down from there. There we go, and change those to ones. I could do an amethyst antlers, to be fair. They're easier to find this time of year, so I've got a better chance of restocking. Let's go ahead and change that to 1. Alright, is there anything else? I've got vampire venom and jumpkins in good supply, it seems. Alright, so we're looking down here for the, the dungeon stuff, I think. Vampire venom. Okay. I do wish that this allowed me to, not have to scroll this in order to find other stuff. Okay. Jumpkin is gonna be in the forest, not the forest, the mountain. That's the word. That's the thing. Okay, Jumpkin. Got that down to 1. Okay. And that's it for everything that we had duplicates of. At least everything that, okay, hold on. I've got dentist crab in, fish tanks. Fish tanks I can just do. Hold on a second. So, I'm just gonna remove the dentist crab from here, and I'm just gonna donate it, you know? It's just, I don't need, it hanging around. I've got plenty. I can pull dentist crab gel out whenever I want. The other thing is shockfish, wigfish, and shadow shark. So, genuinely, I could just do that. Wigfish. Where's my shockfish and shadow shark? There we go. Yeah, we can make donations of these materials easily. We've already got all that stuff. Okay, so that's good. Now, see if I've got them sitting in here now, just because I don't necessarily need them at this point. Shockfish, wigfish, shadow shark, shockfish, wigfish, shadow shark. It is genuinely a little hard to say those. Okay, it looks like I am clear on all that. Right. Okay. Save changes. And save changes. So, we have begun to make a dent on the museum collection. Now, I think that the best way that I can utilize my apprentice and their ability to go out and get any one reagent during any one downtime is just to kind of start going down this list. Just to start going, hey, go out and collect me this thing. Some of these are going to be relatively easy, and so I'm just going to be able to get them in general. Others might be a little bit more difficult. Ooh, you know what? You know what? I think that I know what I want to spend one bit of downtime on, and this is not called for. It's not mechanically required by the game, but I want to do it. So, 1 second, I need to open up my, my wand craft. There it is, postcard. Okay, I'm going to make my apprentice a wand. It only feels right. Now, there isn't going to be any need for quirks. The apprentice doesn't run or play in any in-depth way that we require. So I am really just going to do a little bit of flavor for the reagent and the wood. So, we have got, let's see, 8 different woods, 8 different locales for the wood to come from. I'm going to go ahead and choose a reagent for the core and a locale to get the wood from. I'm going to use 2 cards in order to decide the locale of the wood. I've got them assorted into 2 columns, so it's going to be red column A, black column B, first of all. Okay, red is column A. And then I'm just going to go down. Heart, diamond, club, spade for the second draw. Heart. Funnily enough, she's getting a Glimmerwood Grove wand, just like mine. So, mine has Surgeon Sap in the center. I don't need that. I need this. Mine has Surgeon Sap in the center. Technically, I can just go ahead and put something into the center of Elgiva's. And just kind of go from there. Now, what's a funny one to give to somebody who is shrewd and makes so much money? I'm a little bit tempted by Cynic Ivy, to be very honest with you. That being said, Golden Scale Guppy, for being gold, is tempting as well. Amethyst Antlers is tempting. Oh gosh. What speaks to, like, value, money, silver, gold, anything like that, aside from those? Let's see. Whisper of a Cat sounds fun. Bribe a pampered puss from the village. Yeah, that seems about right. I think Elgiva's wand is going to be me just spending one bit of time foraging in the village for the Whisper of a Cat. I'm going to go ahead and spend a little bit of time doing that. Where's my village exploration? There it is. Let's see what befalls us in the village as we're going about trying to find a cat. You see a bard busking outside the Copper Fox who has managed to drum up quite a crowd. Oh, is this our traveling one-man band? Is it Simon the Symphony again? I think Simon the Symphony is back. All right. Simon the Symphony, what is the latest thing he has added to his repertoire of ridiculousness? I cannot remember if I've ever described or suggested this, but have you ever seen those old-timey, like, one-man band setups where they have a pair of small cymbals, like one on the inside of each knee, and they knock their knees together in order to clash the cymbals. That is what I am imagining right now. He is putting dance moves in that involve a lot of, like, knee wiggling. So, Simon Howe has knee cymbals. You know, he swaps bits of kit out. He tries new things. He gets rid of one thing and adds another. This is just one of the latest experiments. Okay, there we go. Oh, I can clear this. I forgot about that. Alright, so we spend that little bit of time in the village just to get a whisper of a cat. Head back and spend one bit of time making that wand for Elgiva. I'm going to go ahead and... You know what? Just for the heck of it, let's just make another wand. I haven't really done much in the way of wand craft since we've made the dais. There's always been other things to pursue and do with the downtime. But I like the idea of just kind of dabbling into craft, especially with winter. Let's use another reagent we have on hand that we have a lot of. It's probably going to be, oh, what was it, moon moss? Yeah, moon moss we've got multiple of, and I'm not terribly worried about it, so I'm happy to use a little bit of moon moss. Just one jot. Save changes. Okay. There we go. And let's go ahead and make moon moss with, what's the Moonbreaker Mountain or Cloud Isles? Either Moonbreaker Mountain is tough and flexible pine that smells of snow, Cloud Isles is sun-bleached spruce that floats slightly. Let's have snow, pine, and moon moss. Moonbreaker Mountain. Alright. So we'll just utilize a little bit of that. We'll spend some time making one more wand. Now, you can sell it for 50 silver. Elgiva goes out and sells it for us, getting 75 silver for this. This is feeling like some kind of hack. It's feeling very cheesy, but I mean, we're spending time doing. We're spending a bit of time. Anyway, 372 plus 75, 447. My god, we are going to have the most beautiful, like, greenhouse or something, in no time at all. Like, one more potion, and we're gonna be able to do one of the big 500 silver upgrades. We're just going. So, yeah, I think the best thing we can do right now is just get and use a whole bunch of reagents, make wands, and have Elgiva sell them. However, I think to that end, we're going to need to also collect some more reagents, because I also want to finish out that museum, so. There's just a little bit of time left in our downtime. What is something that makes sense to just do? Honestly, something that makes sense to just do is probably just, like, one more wand, maybe. One more wand. Let's do a wand of an innocent suffering, which sounds like it would be the darkest stuff ever. You know, that is a strange one, so I'm gonna go from the strange. I'm gonna use, living with that reacts to your touch and an innocent suffering to create some kind of spooky wand. It really is. So, that is going to be, one more bit of time. And, frankly, another 75 silver. At 522, we are about ready to be able to get that upgrade. However, I'm just going to leave it be for right now. I'm going to get it after the next potion. So, we're going to send Elgiva out to collect one item. I'm going to go ahead and have her go collect foot fungus. It is a terrible thing to have an apprentice do immediately in the start of winter when it's harder to find. It is a terrible thing to try to find. It's gross, but I think that it's time for her to immediately get the idea that this is not a glamorous job. We're going to nip a few mistaken preconceptions in the bud right away. Genuinely, I think that the most sensible narrative direction to go would be to send Elgiva out for the foot fungus first. And then when she successfully comes back and doesn't complain over much or want out or decide she doesn't want to do this anymore, have her sell the couple of wands and then present her with her own. I think it's basically a full reverse of the timeline I actually described. Okay, I skipped it the last couple of weeks of autumn, mostly because I was very focused on getting the Baron, but we do have the random book of the bookshelf, one per week. I have rolled a 90, so that could be in the interesting stuff. Interesting. It's not a book. It's a single page of paper, bound in stained leather. It sounds almost more like a sort of folio than anything. There's an unknown script upon this page. Do we manage to speak it, is now the question. Can we read this script? Seems unlikely. I'll draw a card for it. A single sweet. A spade is yes, everything else is no. We do not. Now, I happen to know, reading the description of this book, that this is for the best, to be honest. But, yeah, the book this week was a strange one, and probably one best lost. Okay. With that, we roll into the second week of winter. And there are many, many dogs around nearby where I am. Oh, that's not what I want. Recall. Making a lot of noise. So, apologies for that. It is unstoppable in some cases. Mostly because some of them are the neighbors' dogs. They're just having a time. Alright. That last week was relatively quick and... No! 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 I am not dealing with clock shock again! I'm not doing it! Screw it! What's some of the previous ailments? Expert would be clock shock on a 5. 5 in advanced is Thunderstruck. We've done that before. Is there anything that I haven't done? Loss of experience I have done. I have not done the novice ailment number 5 Yeti chest. We're doing another easy one, guys. We are not going to get any reputation gain from this, but the silver is going to be unchanged, so who cares? Alright, we're doing Yeti chest. So for Yeti chest, the afflicted's chest hair grows longer and thicker until it becomes a fur-like coating. They also speak with a much lower voice for some reason. Good in winter, though. There is no timer on this. We are just starting at a flat 13. It is hair 1 and lungs 1. Quite frankly, it being winter, this person might not mind much. So, who is afflicted with it? It is a monster. Okay. I'm going to say that it is a monster where hair is detrimental or unwanted. It's not going to be any that we have helped before. It's going to be completely different. However, it is... I'm thinking it's going to be someone or something that is either amphibious or mostly in some way aquatic. It really does not want the extra drag of super chest hair. Oh, it's not going to be the giant frog. But does the giant frog have family, underlings, anything of that sort? Goodness. So, Amrog, no. Amrog, no. However, Amrog might be our point of contact. Alright. Amrog has a younger brother. Named... Enrog. Amrog has a younger brother named Enrog, who has somehow contracted a case of Yeti. Was it Yeti chest? Let me find the actual name of it. Yeti chest. Enrog doesn't care for the hair, but does quite like the deeper voice. Amrog hates the deeper voice, as it's a challenge. He wants it gone. We are contracted to solve this. So, the treatment room isn't going to really make a difference, and Virgil also isn't, because there's no timer technically on it. So basically, aside from, like, the silver, so basically, we are just going to have to figure out how to deal with the Yeti chest hair. And that should be relatively easy. Hair 1, lungs 1, so the strength of the reagent does not matter in the least. Let's just kind of go down and see what we have that is decently possible here. Hair of boar would take care of lungs, so that's easy. Funnily enough, I wouldn't be surprised if both of those are things that I can find in the loch. I know for sure I've got wigfish just basically on hand at all times, so I don't even need to go anywhere for that. Where's my fish tanks? There it is. Yeah, wigfish is hair. So, you know, that's easy as anything. Wigfish on hand. That is no problem. Now the question is, do we want to go to the forest and tromp around going for hair of boar, or is there anywhere else? You know what? Moonbreaker Mountain should be a bit of a priority if I want to hope for the moonstone, just incidentally. So let's just see really quick Yeah, gold rank guano is lungs. It is harder to find in the winter, to be fair. That might be something that is going to take a bit of time, but it's technically possible. Just real quick, a goat's echo is easy no matter what. It's just mountain 3 magic, so basically 1. So that would be pretty... No, wait, yeah, no, it's lungs. Also glacier moss, which is fine. Yeah, I think going to the mountain is a good idea, and we can just spend some extra time searching for extra reagents to send in. I'm gonna go for a goat's echo. It's basically mountain 1. Takes no time at all. And then while we're in the mountains, we can decide what else we're gonna hunt for. The heck does a raw echo sound turn into for a reagent? I don't know, but it sure is getting mixed with a seaweed wigfish wig. So I don't even know how to describe the potion that's going to result. Oh, I think we're just feeding him a balled up clump of seaweed that, like, faintly trembles with a captured echo of a goat. Anyhow, first of all, we need to go and find these things. Oh, I need the full ambience, thank you, for Moonbreaker Mountain. Let's go do this. Moonbreaker Mountain explorations. I'm going to get it no matter what on the first try. Goat echoes should add carbonation to potion. Yeah, I could see it. You make an excellent point as far as sound waves in a potion goes. Either it should constantly tremble and thrum, or yeah, it should be bubbly or fizzy. Oh, no. Even better. Okay, you know how sometimes when you drink something carbonated, like a soda, and you have you've been drinking a bit of it, you kind of get these, like, bubbling up, like, burps? Just these little, not hiccups, but little that comes up. I think that those happen after you take this potion. The drinker has a side effect of, little belches, but they all sound kind of faintly goat-like for a few hours afterwards. I think that's the side effect. Alright, on a 5, we've definitely gotten our goat's echo. But what else has happened to us? Oh ho! It's our friend! Rai, I think was her name. The air balloonist? Hot air balloonist? Yes, Rai. Okay. Now, I want you to also imagine that the little goat-bleat belches are coming out of the mouth of a giant frog, because that is who is dealing with this right now. We'll get there. We'll get there. For right now, while collecting the goat's echo, bump into Rai again. Alright. She weighs anchor next to you, and the eccentric balloonist offers a lift to wherever you'd like to go. Increase timer by 1. So, technically we dropped the timer by 1 to get to the event. Now we've increased it back to full again. We're not after anything in particular this time. We don't need to go anywhere. We just say, hey, alright, take us to a place that you find interesting on the mountain. So with that, Rye will go ahead and give Viola a ride up to, up one of the slopes, just around, one side of the mountain. There's a bit of a plateau, technically reachable on foot, but Rye always prefers to, fly up with the balloon, as ever. There's plenty of space for her to land and tether down if she wants to sit for a while. It's a place with a fantastic view of the far side of the mountain, where you can see the cloud isles drifting overhead and the land stretching downwards into the valley on the other side. Spend a little time there, then Rye takes off. We are going to take the long way down the mountain, as we want to find a few more reagents just along the way. So we can basically just kind of go down this list. If I can just scroll. If I can scroll. Ah! Alright. And we can just kind of collect things as we're going along. So, first of all, Milkstone is easy to find. It's magic, it's 1 on the mountain, we have a wand, we can find a Milkstone pretty much immediately. It's just a question of what we run into along the way. So, first of all, it clicked and drew but didn't pull over, so there we go. At an 8. Okay, narratively, this doesn't fit the description. The description is that you stop at the base camp that hikers and adventurers often use. However, right now we are narratively a little bit up the mountain and starting to head down. So, I will say that it is not so much the base camp at the foot of the mountain, but there is another camp halfway up, I'll say right in the pass that people use to cross the mountain. It's a sheltered nook that is basically used for safety, for if you started traveling or ended up here a little bit too late in the day to continue on any treacherous paths by night, or if there's inclement weather but you're able to get this far. You find that there's a group that have just come back from Heroes Hollow. So, we've come across another adventuring group. There we go. So, new group of adventurers on their way out of Heroes Hollow. They're really just passing through. They're on their way home after a minor adventure of their own. Let's see. After some conversation about adventuring and the sorts of things that they've encountered in the past, not necessarily in the Hollow, but perhaps in places even further afield, places that Viola has never been and has only ever heard of. They part ways. After they leave, you notice they left a reagent. Draw a card and treat it as a dungeon reagent of the same value. So, I need to open up dungeon reagents. A 4 is not particularly high, but that's alright. So, skullcap is an option. Ooh, silverleaf. Honestly, I think silverleaf is probably a pretty good one. I like it. It's right there on that line, and I think that we're going to go ahead and note it down here. Though I will say, if anything happens that causes me to lose things I'm carrying, both the milkstone that I have picked up, which I'm going to mark now, and the silverleaf is going to cause me problems because I have to remember them and get rid of them. I'm just going to hope for the best, basically. There we go. Alright, so silverleaf and milkstone so far. Let's go back up to where the milkstone was, because if I can just kind of continue down the line, it would be great. Alright. So, Museum of Magic. Just gonna scoot that over a little. The next thing down the list, if we continue, would be Cynic Ivy, technically. So yeah, let's go ahead and, let's go for that. Mountain 9. Scoot these over, I might need them. Alright. Got that all set up. So, Cynic Ivy, Mountain 9, it's a plant, I get no bonuses of any kind. We are just gonna try for... Ooh! Guys, we did it! We heckin' did it! Okay! Okay! Moonstone time! Right. In searching for Cynic Ivy, Viola notices signs that point to places where it likes to grow. Things that it likes to cling to, but higher up on the path. So she climbs higher. The event for King says, pushing yourself as much as you can, you keep heading upwards, braving biting winds and perilous climbs until eventually you reach the summit. Here, above the clouds, you see a dragon that glitters like the night sky. It welcomes you and congratulates you on your ascent. As reward, it gives you a piece of moonstone and tells you the story of a constellation. This is one of those journaling prompts where it says draw the constellation and write what you can remember. We're not necessarily drawing the constellation. Mostly because there's not really a great place for it on this, this sheet that I have made. Also need to write down Moonstone. Alright. The dragon tells us a story of a constellation. Hold on. I think I might have something for this. Hold on 1 second. Do I have something that helps me generate descriptions of constellations? I think I'm one of these books. Please hold. I am buffering. Is there anything about landmarks? No. Events, items, worlds, kingdoms, religion, no. Towns, no. I might not have the thing that I thought I did. I thought that one of my table fables had a segment of constellations, of descriptions thereof, but I'm not necessarily seeing one. Yeah, I've got stuff for, like, magical effects, dreams and nightmares, randomized elements like colors or metals. I'm not seeing anything on constellations. Alright. There's weather. Settings, festivals. Doesn't seem like it. Is there anything that I can then adapt? Possibly. So constellations usually come in forms of people, like gods or heroes or things like that. Animals, which has a lot of overlap, to be fair. Occasionally items, such as crowns, carts, drums, swords, things like that. And broadly, those are the three categories, broadly speaking. Unless there are some that I am not thinking of right now. I suppose you could make an argument for there being a constellation based on, say, a plant instead of an animal, if it's like a great tree constellation or something, so maybe that's another category. So I think that I will go ahead and draw a card, for one thing, just to kind of narrow down what sort of constellation there is. So, no particular ties of suit to concept, but hearts will be a person-shaped constellation. Diamonds will be an animal, clubs will be an object, and spades will be a plant. So diamonds is an animal-based constellation, or an animal-shaped constellation. You know what? From here, I can just go ahead and use the familiars cards. Alright, let's just go ahead and see what kind of animal it might be. A 4 would be a canid, or canid animal. Dog, well, wolf, fox, that's pretty easy to work with. Those are relatively straightforward. So, a fox constellation. Foxes are often cast as tricksters. They are notorious as such. They tend to be very good at getting into things that humans might not want them to. And so that's a quality that usually in stories gets elaborated upon. Once upon a time, there was a fox that was the greatest trickster in all the clan of foxes. He could get into and out of any chicken coop, no matter the defenses put in place, into and out of any den of any animal, great or small. Such was his skill and success that he began to grow proud and confident. "I can get into anything," he said frequently. "Name me a place. Name me a target. I can get in. I can steal it, and I can escape. And even if they see me, they will never catch me." Some of the animals cautioned him that this was a hubris that he might not wish to commit to, that this was a risk he might not wish to take. Nevertheless, he stuck to it. It came to be that another of the tricksters of the forest, the hare, heard of this boasting. And one day, at the Feast of Animals, where truces were held and all could gather water and plant food without troubling each other, the hare spoke to this trickster fox, the greatest of them, and slyly mentioned that they heard that the house of gods in the sky was impregnable. That gods being what they are, they always knew everything. Nobody could get in and steal something from them, not and get away with it. The fox immediately took this as a challenge, as intended. "Nobody until me," he said. "I'll be the first." And with that, the fox began to plan his greatest heist. To steal a cup from the house of the gods. He found the tallest tree in all the land, but couldn't reach them. He climbed the tallest mountain, and he was still very nearly out of reach. And then he saw some islands in the sky, floating free. Making plans, he tricked the greatest eagle in the land into flying him there. And from there, he hopped island to island, climbing higher and higher, until he found himself at the gate of the House of the Gods. There was a gatekeeper. He could not slip by unnoticed. The gatekeeper called out, "What manner of creature are you?" And the fox thought quickly. "Why, I am a messenger. One of the gods created me in order to run word from here and there, because I run very fast." The gatekeeper asked who the message was for. "Oh, I can't tell you that. It's confidential. It's very private." The gatekeeper, not having encountered a fox before, decided that this made sense. Various gods had their secrets, and sometimes it's best not to pry into them. He allowed the fox inside. The fox snuck then, hall to hall, door to door, until he found the feasting hall of the gods. There on one of the tables was a silver cup, inlaid with gems. Snatching it up in his mouth, the fox hurried away. The gods called after, "My cup was here. Where did it go?" Another god said, "I believe that it was taken. A small creature who entered." The god whose cup had been stolen followed. And try as he might, with all of his tricks and all of his cunning, the fox could not outrun this one's eyes, for they were watchful, and could see everything that the light touched. Eventually, the fox, in trying to evade this god's eyes, dove into the pool of darkness that surrounded the hall of the gods. He was a strong swimmer, but even he couldn't quite get away, because the pool of darkness was not utterly dark, and was studded by small lights, glowing gems that made stars. The god called after, "I see you there. You want the cup? Have your prize. But you will continue chasing it from now until the end of time. And only then will you fall back down onto the earth." The constellation of the fox and cup is a twinned pair, sometimes separated, but usually linked together in stories. One set of the constellation forms a shape not unlike a vessel, just set before the mouth of a fox. The constellation swims ever in circles around the pole star, never quite touching the earth. I feel like if I had a little bit more of a run-up, I might have come up with something a little bit better linked together, but we are doing this pretty quickly, so. With that, let's go ahead and continue down the line. The next one is Goldrake Guano. That is +4 in winter, so that would be a stack of 8 in order to find it. A jack will definitely do it for us, though. Let's go ahead and mark that off. Also, Goldrake Guano, freely and enthusiastically given when you're not looking for it, a frightening climb up to their nests when you are. Another one of those best not ask reagents. The jack is once again coming across the clearing, the shelf where once we found the stone golem that we repaired. We now have perhaps a little bit of a better insight as to where it came from. It was probably one of those sabotaged, broken, and then abandoned golems that worked the mines on the far side of the mountain at that time. The ones that Agnes herself sabotaged. Well, so rumors say. Lately, the golem has been enjoying a peaceful time, tending to the gardens, the hives, keeping them warm for the winter, keeping them in good condition, despite the weather and the frost. It seems to, in a way, almost enjoy sitting beside the hives, letting the bees crawl over it, and feed on the flowers that grow from its joints. Alright, let's go ahead and see if we can find a moon lotus. That is a 7 on the mountain. 10 again is enough. We are honestly going through these very quickly, collecting things for the Museum of Magic. On a 10. Ah, a shadow suddenly falls across you as a wild griffin dives for you. How do you escape the hungry beast? We lose 2 foraging points, which we honestly haven't really been needing to rack up anyway. Better than losing reagents, to be fair. The griffin dives, and it's really luck that it does it from before the sun, so that the shadow falls first. Viola dives as well, straight onto her broom, and up into, very nearly into the aisles. The griffin, as a flying beast, is able to give chase. Viola has to dive and weave between rock formations, and then down into the mountains and into a cave. She manages to go far enough back that it's too narrow for the griffin to follow, and it doesn't favor caves anyway. Being a creature of the open air and sky and mountain slopes, it shrieks and claws, and then very quickly gives up and flies away. It has easier prey to try to find. After giving a little bit of time, Viola pokes her head out, looks around, and then goes searching for just a little bit of candy rock. So that is magic, so it goes from mountains 9 to 7. And that is enough to catch a little candy rock. Which is another of those things that I love the history on. A sorcerer came through High Rannoch a few years back and tried to turn it into a desert. Thankfully, he was both incompetent and illiterate, so we got patches of dessert. Most of it's been eaten by now, but you can still find some bits out there. That is some wild world building. I love it so much. It is so silly and ridiculous, and I love it so much as a story thing. Alright, on a 9. From your vantage point, you spot a nice, obvious reagent on a rocky outcrop. Draw a card and treat it as a reagent of the same value. So we're getting a bonus. And the bonus is not much. I think I forgot to move that. There we go. Alright, what do we get for a 1? Milkstone, probably. Yeah, I think we just found Milkstone. There's not really anything else on the mountain that is a 1, so... I've already gotten that for the Museum of Magic, so I'm just gonna put it on hand. Just to make sure that we have that in there. So we'll save changes on that. There we go. Okay. So there's a lot of time left. Let's go for... These things are aisles, which we could get up to, but we're on the mountain right now. Let's keep going on the mountain. So we need pixie fur. That's mountain 6. -2 is 4, so we need a 4 or better. 2 doesn't quite cut it. Technically, that gives us 2 foraging points, unless they get taken away by whatever 2 is. Alright, while foraging around in the foothills, a large billy goat takes offense to your presence and chases you until you give it a plant reagent or it tires itself out. Lose 1 foraging point or 1 reagent. I will lose the foraging point because I do not want to go back and fix any of those reagents that we've been doing. 1 more bit of time, 1 more draw. A 3 isn't quite enough, once again, and because we lost a foraging point, it's still not quite enough. 3. Some stone gives way under your hand, disturbing the goldrakes down below. They peck and screech at you until you're far away from the cliffside nests. Lose 2 foraging points, so we're immediately putting those back. The pixie fur is proving more difficult than imagined. An ace. You have got to be kidding me. Oh, we had such a string of good luck and now it's all coming down. Alright. You find a lost sheep in a moss-covered cave. It recognizes you and bounces over. It's again. The shepherd lives on the other side of the mountain, but it might get hurt if you leave it here. So we guide it home and decrease timer by 2. But we add 3 sweet to this potion. So we will return the sheep once more. That was quite a lot of things that happened just trying to find pixie fur, to be quite honest. So we've escaped a griffin, a billy goat, some goldrakes. All right. So, I think at that point, after that string of bad luck, I think enough is enough. We'll go ahead and head home. We will make the Fizzy Defuzzer potion. Get it to Enrog. And be done with it. Alright. Math time. It was a low-level potion, all things considered. So, save changes. There we go. Close that. So we are not getting any reputation. However, we still get silver based on our level of expertise, not on the potions. So, goofy as heck. But Amrog doesn't necessarily know what the value of silver actually is to mortals, so he's willing and ready and eager to pay whatever for solving his problem. So, that is 50 silver. We had 3 points of sweet from the shepherd. I'm going to go ahead and put a hive point into it, just because use them or lose them, basically. We can do multiple in one, but whatever. 3 points of sweet from that, 1 from the offering of the fox that always happens, 1 from the hive. We have once again achieved a 5-point sweet potion. God, it really is just a soda we've made. It's just a seaweed-based soda, which is a weird thing, but who knows, a frog probably likes it. So that's 50, and King 20 is 70, plus 10 for treatment room is 80, plus Elgiva's shrewdness for a additional 40, another 120 silver, for God's sake. Okay. Yeah, you get late enough in the game and this just really starts to snowball if you have the right upgrades, and this is luck-based, to be very honest. But still. Absolutely ridiculous. Fantastic. Okay, I think it's time for a big fancy, upgrade. What's the biggest, fanciest upgrade we can get? There are some good ones, to be honest. There's a lot of 500 silver ones, to be very, very, very clear. The paddock is tempting, but frankly, Basement Hollow, Glimmerwood Greenhouse, Meltwater Pond, and Mini Mountain, just to have, like, 5 reagents with free access to them, so handy. So very handy. We already have an apprentice. Spirit Seal, we haven't really been haunted by anything yet. That hasn't been a thing as of right now. Technically, we can do Ravenloft, which double silver for the second potion would get ridiculous with this. However, I am going to keep it simple and not do that, to be honest with you there. Yeah, I think that the ultimate mini biome things are the best shot. So, which one do we want? There's a couple ways to decide. One is purely tactical, going, okay, which area has difficult reagents to get hold of? Which area has reagents, has, like, exploration things that I don't want to deal with now or in the future? Not really a lot of them, to be very honest. It is one way to look at it. The other thing is pure aesthetic. What of these does Viola build immediately or first upon the opportunity? Given her wand being glittering oak, I think that it's probably fair to say that Glimmerwood Greenhouse might have a special place in the heart. It does mean that she goes... Okay, any of these that she puts in does mean she goes to that place less, potentially. Because she just has 5 reagents from it on hand at any given time. Alright, let's see. I could just draw a card. I am hitting indecision, and I think indecision is a good point to just draw a card. So, I'm just going to go down this list. I'm just going to go down the suits. So, heart, diamond, club, spade. Heart, diamond, club, spade. Let's go. Spade, we're going to go ahead and get a mini mountain. This house-sized mountain actually has a localized climate and shrinking effect upon it, which makes you look like a giant, which raises questions about our own mountain. Choose up to 5 reagents with mountain as one of their locales. You have free access to them. I'm gonna make a new little handout sheet, a new little note. Special locale upgrades. Okay. So the first one is mini mountain. Gonna bold, underline. Get down there, no longer bold and underline. Probably struggle with that. Oh well. So, Reagents of Moonbreaker Mountain. Conveniently, I have that open right now. Now the downside is I've just gotten most of those for the museum, so, it hardly matters at this point. But, okay. 5 reagents with Mountain as one of their things, so I can just get some Nimbus Fish in there. I can just get some of these things. I think that the best way to go about it is stuff that's hard to get. It has to have mountain as one of the locales. So Flood Bulb doesn't count because that's technically isles. Cold Rust Wood, Old Blood Wood, technically count because those are mountains. Foot Fungus. I think it's just being, like, grown on the mountainside itself. I'm ignoring this whole giant's toes thing. Thank you very much. Moon Moss is very fair. Glacier Moss as well. We can have a little localized bit of innocent suffering swirling around on there. I feel like Nimbus Fish was fair. It's Isles 3, though, so I can very easily collect it otherwise. Candy Rock. Hold on a second. I've just found a way to farm sweet. We're going to cultivate that Sorcerer's Curse. It's a reagent. It has mountains. We're doing that. Oh, I'm cheesing the silver system so hard. I shouldn't be allowed to do this. I really shouldn't. But I'm doing it anyway. Okay, I like that. I like Cynic Ivy. Mostly because it's fairly useful for some stuff, and also because it's a bit of a pain to collect sometimes. It's got very high numbers across the board, and really only gets easier a little bit in the summer. So Cynic Ivy for sure. Candy Rock for sure. Most of these I do not mind too much, or they're isles and therefore easy to get hold of. The Jumpkin has potential, honestly. It's also fairly high values. It's really only easy, really easy in the autumn. A little bit easy in the winter, but otherwise, it's up there. Let's see, what else is an option? Those are just isles, so they don't count. Pixie Fur really only cures rash, and so I'm fine. Innocent Suffering? Yeah, it's high values. Even with the bonus I get to magic stuff, it's still fairly high. I don't know what innocents are suffering in my mini mountain biome. Presumably some things that are unhappy with the Cynic Ivy. Cynicism is suffering, after all, isn't it? I'm putting the damn foot fungus on there. It's just gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more. One more with mountain as a locale. I am tempted by either Moon Moss or Glacier Moss, to be very honest with you. I also kind of just like the idea of putting the moss on there. We have a lot of weird stuff going on, to be very honest here. I just want something pleasant. So, Glacier Moss. Bright white moss grows on the side of glaciers, looks at first glance like patches of snow. Experienced mountaineers chew it as it slowly releases the water inside and tastes minty fresh. Moon Moss. Gray-white moss that rumors say grows on the surface of the moon and was scraped off by Moonbreaker's Peak eons ago. It carries a touch of the moon's magical energy. Dehydration in lungs, blood and curse. They're both 3-star. They're both plants. They're equally easy to find in the Isles. It's pretty much just which one do I want to kind of have on hand. Okay. I've got tons of sweet now available to me at all times. At all times. I think that the one limit I'm going to put on myself is I can only put, like, one thing of Candy Rock into a potion, because technically you can just load, like, there is no cap on how much sweet you can put in a potion. There is no cap for that kind of thing. There should be, because, quite frankly, the fact that you can create a game-breaking, ridiculous logic loop. If this was a video game, I am not going to play it as such. I'm going to play it way more, relatively grounded. But technically, you can put as much Candy Rock in a potion as you want if you have a mini mountain and put Candy Rock on it. You can just not stop. We're gonna, 1, 1 dose per potion. Okay. Anyway, Moon Moss, Glacier Moss, Moon Moss, Glacier Moss. Indecision is striking again. So once again, we are going to, black is Glacier Moss, red is Moon Moss. Let's go. That is going to be Glacier Moss. So we're going to just slap that in there. Boom! Save changes. We now have constant access to those items in particular. Which I think that we have actually, like, brought all of those to the Museum of Magic at this point. We've sent them all, so I'm not getting any bonuses for that at the very least. Let's just make sure. Is there anything on here that's not... technically Glacier Moss. So I'll say we seed the Glacier Moss in and take a little bit and send it to the museum. Glacier Moss, where'd you go? There you are. Okay. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, it's just these things that are going to be interesting to find at this point. Alright. God, those upgrades are fantastic. We are going to get hold of the last of them very, very quickly, I think, at this point. Alright. So, downtime. Okay. So, the first things first, let's go ahead and decide the reagents that we send, our apprentice out to get. Let's just go ahead and send her to a new place, just for the fun of it. What's a interesting thing that she can learn from? Honestly, we could probably just go back up to the, yeah, to the forest stuff. Started out relatively easy. She learned from Foot Fungus that this is not a fun, glamorous, powerful, impress everybody job. It's got smelly parts. It's got some unpleasant bits. It's not a lot of fun, after all. Let's see, what's something else? Her wand has the whisper of a cat within it. I think we're gonna send her to collect another whisper of a cat in order to kind of learn about dealing with others that might be troublesome. She now has a wand, so she can technically collect it. So that is going to be her task for this downtime. Save changes. There we go. Pull those over. Okay. Downtime. What do we do with it? Okay. Well, I'm just gonna double check something. Yeah, the Moonstone removes all poison tags, and basically you have 4 jots until you can purify it. So yeah, we no longer have to worry at all about poison. At all. Good to know. Okay. What's something that makes sense to do, other than potentially just hunt reagents to... Did I close that? I think I closed the Museum of Magic. There we go. We could just hunt reagents, to be quite honest. What's a place that we don't have a lot of them in? Let's see. Honestly, we haven't really been to the... We don't have a lot from the dungeon. Yeah, we don't have a lot from the dungeon. Let's just go ahead and maybe do a bit of that. Skeleton dust seems like a reasonable reagent to try and find. Okay. Skeleton dust, where are you? Again, there we go. Okay. So that is magic 5, which goes down to 3 because magic. And that is the Hero's Hollow. So we need a 3 or better. That is a 6. That is definitely better. But what else happens? 1 for that. Ah! The ground gives way beneath you, dropping you into a smooth stone chute, which drops you into a cell somewhere in the depths of the dungeon. Thankfully, the lock isn't too hard to pick. It just kind of keeps resetting. I can only imagine that the ground heals itself. The dungeon shifts around occasionally. We already know that there's a puzzle room that keeps getting changed. And so it's always a surprise when we get dropped. We get ourselves out of there, but decrease the timer by 1 as we are a little off course at this point. Thankfully, we do manage to get a hold of our skeleton dust. Oh, blast. That's transparent. There we go. Oh, nope, nope, nope. And there we go. Okay. Okay. Always a great time, always a great time. So what's another one that's relatively easy to find within the dungeon? We're at the point where most of the stuff is easier in the strange, to be fair. We could go for some old blood. That does drop down to a 3 in the dungeon for us because of magic. So why not? A 9 is definitely more than enough. Okay. We find a bit of old blood. And while wandering the deeper sections, probably because we were dropped there a moment before, we come across a scared-looking newbie adventurer. They offer 10 silver for you to lead them out of the dungeon. Decrease timer by 1 if you do. So first of all, timer is decreased by 1 for the event. We're not in any particular rush. We're not pressed for time. So I'll say that we can go ahead and do so. Now, is this the last, Ark? Ark was the latest newbie. You know what? I think that it's because we're in the cells area and we're deep down, we come across Ark trying desperately to break out of a cell himself. He also stumbled upon a very similar trap, getting dropped in a chute down into a locked cell. Ark, unfortunately, doesn't have the experience, and further, recently suffered a loss of experience as an ailment that has prevented him from really making any headway on this. Alright, so we'll break him out, and then take the time to escort him to the higher levels of the dungeon. There, he pays 10 silver. Technically, we get an extra 50%, so he gives us 15, so that is 57. Oh, wait, I've got to reduce that. There we go. We paid for a mini mountain. Gotta remember that. With that, he is free to go. We are taking a little time there. And at that point, it's about time to head back home. So the interesting book of the week, as I roll a 9, is the Encyclopedia of Thaumaturgy by E.D.H. I'm going to say the Encyclopedia of Thaumaturgy, it sounds like, especially something that's kind of gone out of print, doesn't exist anymore. It's probably doesn't exist anymore because A, this guy got things very, very wrong, and so it's almost it's almost an exercise in rage baiting of, no, that's not how it works, that's not how that works, I cast that spell, that's not how that works! And or very dry stuff in between the misconceptions of, yeah, technically that's not how that works, but God, you're phrasing it awfully. It is a good thing in a way that is no longer in existence. Let's go ahead and recall everything, do a little shuffle. And move us on to Winter Week 3. Our ailment for this time. Is this a new one? Please be a new one. We have dealt with this before. It's vampirism. I don't know how I keep getting the same sort of stuff. One tier down is fairy fever, then ventriloquist cough. Once again, if we do a novice ailment for ease, we get something more interesting that we've never done before. Magnetic thumb. Pain 1, blood 1. Caused by having too much iron in one's diet, the afflicted hands attract metal. Not so bad for painters, a death sentence for builders and bakers. So who right now has it? A spade is... Hold on, I think that I said club was a monster. Is spade a repeat customer, individual? It might be. It is a repeat patient. Alright. The fact that it specifically mentions bakers makes me think Mercutio the baker has had a little bit of trouble. Alright. So Mercutio the baker comes in with a case of magnetic thumb, which he discovered when a hot pan zipped very suddenly into his hands when he wasn't quite ready for it. He is currently suffering a jot of pain, and there might be a little bit of blood involved as well. These are going to be very easy. There is no timer on it. We've got a full 13 to basically get this done. Because we're doing the easy ones, because I want unique things. I want different stuff. I don't want to do the same ailments week after week. Please and thank you. But I keep drawing them. So, this is going to be extremely easy. I'm gonna take a peek in Hero's Hollow, just because, again, there's plenty of foraging that can be done. We're looking for pain and blood of any kind, any level. It does not matter. In theory, we should be able to find these pretty easily. Let's go. Alright, Skullcap, pain. I mean, easy. Done. Dungeon 2. Technically Dungeon 5 is +5 in the winter, but that's fine. We've got time. So spores boiled for pain. We can do that. Let's see, what does blood? There's gotta be something for blood in the dungeon. Are you kidding? There has to be something for blood in the dungeon. Where else would you get it? I think this is one of those where burn would be fair for flavor's sake, but it's supposed to go for anything, so... including just a builder crushing their thumb with their hammer. Excuse me. Huh. Is there really nothing that cures something in the blood in the dungeon? Ooh, that might be the case. There's wound, but that's different. This is iron in the bloodstream that we're trying to fix. Interesting, there is nothing that actually cures a blood affliction in the dungeon. Okay. What are my linked locations? I've got Heroes Hollow in there, so technically if I can find something in, say, Cloud Isles, that would work fairly well. I am not entirely certain that anything in the Isles does blood, though. Let's just kind of take a peek, just in case. I'm skipping anything that says mountains, not even looking. Moon moss, blood, okay. So technically I could just do Isles and not worry about travel in that case. But I don't see anything else. Okay. I'm honestly okay with that. It's more powerful than we need, but whatever. Isle 6, it's a plant, so I get no bonuses. And we just crush it for Blood and Curse. We're not after a perfect thing anyway, because we're not getting any reputation from it, because it's a low-level thing. It's fine. Okay, so I want to spend more time exploring the dungeon for extra reagents, to be quite honest. Not that we are hurting for any amount of time at this point. But also, hold on. I think that there was something that was exclusive to Isles that I wanted to get for this. Star Shard. Star Shard, potentially ambergris. So I guess it depends on how much I want to dedicate time to any of that. We should be fine. Okay. So I'm gonna go for a Star Shard at Isles 5. After collecting the Moon Moss. So going very straightforward as we leave our apprentice to look after poor Mercutio once again. We fly on up to the Cloud Isles. Searching for moon moss, we're looking for a 6 or better. Let's see, where's my exploration? There it is. Let's go. An ace is definitely not what we're looking for. I mean, thank you very much. Okay, on an ace. Foraging around on one of the larger islands, you come across an animal that could have never gotten up here on its own. What is it, and do you escort it back to its original locale? We've gotten this so many times, I don't even know what to put anymore. There's a cow up here. We find Bessie the cow. It's just wandering around on one of the islands. No idea how it got here. And quite frankly, Violo takes one look at this, just stares dumbfounded for a moment, and then just goes, no, no, No. No. Bessie the cow can stay put this time. They'll be fine. So we are not going to deal with that. Just going to continue looking for moon moss. A 7 is going to be enough to collect it. My goodness. Once again, flying past one of the larger, more forested islands, you spot some rocks spelling out, help! This is, I think, either the 4th or the 5th sailor, sky sailor, that we have found to rescue. How does this keep happening? Like, I'm beginning to feel like it's a standard for skyships in this setting to have no railings. I am really beginning to feel like this. Alright. Nope, this one was not a sky sailor. This one was a thrill seeker. This one was a traveler would-be, wannabe adventurer who built their own little tiny skyskiff thing and was trying to make like their own wingsuit to glide with. It did not go well. They managed to survive the landing, but they couldn't get down because the wingsuit tore and they cannot reliably fix it, and it's an awful long way down. What is this absolute little fool's name? What is this doofus called? What is this doofus? Let's see. What was it 28 do? Fabian. I think we might have had a Fabian before, to be honest, but it's been a while and I can't remember. So, yeah. I just had the thought that the cow is up there because it's the cow that tried to jump over the moon. It didn't quite make it. It landed on the Cloud Isles instead. Let's see. If you didn't develop previous castaways, I would suggest it's just a shapeshifter pulling our witch's leg for fun. It might start to be that at some point, to be really honest. Genuinely, that would explain a lot about the various small animals that make it up there as well. Like, at some point, there's gotta be a singular explanation for how often this happens. Now, to be fair, this has been over the course of an in-game, in-character, not quite year. So it's not quite to the same level of us feeling it every single week, of getting, you know, like multiple ones or something. For this individual, it's been months. It's been months. But nevertheless, it sure does just keep happening. Alright, so Fabian has been living on moss for the last week or two, which explains why, well, we did just find moon moss, so he's been dealing with that. Yeah, okay, fine, we'll go ahead and rescue him. Let's see, do you rescue them? Gain 5 silver if you do. Sure. I am not messing with the 50% silver on this one, I'm just not. 5 is just too on an odd number. What's 5 and 7? 12, so 62. Yep, okay. Oh, man. Alright. We will get Fabian to a point, at least on the mountain, where he can trek the rest of the way down to High Rannoch, then return to our searches. We have the ingredient we need technically for the potion, but we also are fairly flush with time. So the next thing, I think, is very much the star shards. Let's just go ahead and take a little bit of time and collect those. So, star shard is magic, so Isles 5, but it goes down to Isles 3. Let's see. 4 is just enough, so we can collect a star shard. Aha! This is us running into Cayenne and her grandmother again. Let me just go ahead and remind myself of names and such. Also, I should probably write down Fabian in my list of visitors and passersby and so on. There we go. Okay, we've run into Piera, grandmother of Cayenne, owner of a flying cottage and traveling witch. Alright. So, she is up in the area again. There's not necessarily a prescribed thing for what happens when we run into them. The original event is the cottage being, you know, every time you get this event, you may ask and answer a new question about this unconventional person who's in the cottage. Heck, I think we've answered a fair amount about them, to be quite honest with you. I guess the question is, why a traveling cottage? Why not settle down in a single territory like most witches do? And I think her answer is really just wanderlust. It never appealed to her to stay in one place. Because what's the fun in that? What do you can't find new things and meet new people quite as easily, and Viola is staring 1,000 miles into the pseudo camera at the whole, oh, you don't meet new people. Oh, I've met so many new people just pulling them off of these islands you would not believe. But that's a whole other thing. We have... Oh, I need to go into edit and... Find the star shard again. And mark it. I do not like that whenever you go into save it and close it, it goes right back to a highlight. Like, I understand why, but I wish it wouldn't. Okay. There's not a lot else that I can collect on the Isles for this. Maybe ambergris, which is 9 on the Isles. At some point I do have to go to the dungeon and get Skullcap. It shouldn't be terribly difficult, but you never know with the dungeon because some of those things will sap you for time. So quite frankly, I think that I will leave the ambergris for just another exploration. I think that we should just head down with our moon moss into the dungeon. We do not lose time in travel because we have teleport stones linking them. So that should be pretty quick. Let's see. Hero's Hollow. There you are. So, in Hero's Hollow, an 8 is more than enough, so we've certainly found our skull cap very quickly. But in so doing, we find that someone has changed the puzzle room again. The first time that we've encountered it, it was a puzzle of mirrors, bouncing a beam of light onto a certain location in order to progress. The second time, it was one of those giant sliding blocks where you have to push stone cubes around on tracks, getting them into correct configurations or locations in order to escape. What is the puzzle room this time? What other classic dungeon puzzles might there be? I think there's always some room in the option of the sort of thing where there's like a lineup of, say, 3 or 4 levers, and each one like spins certain spins or rotates certain elements, like pillars, and you're trying to make the pillars all match. But, you know, the first leveler spins the outer 2 one click in a direction, the second one spins the 2 rightmost or the 2 leftmost, that kind of thing. And so you're kind of constantly pushing or pulling these levers over and over in order to try and get the pillar images to match up correctly. Those ones usually have a relatively, you know, quote-unquote simple solution if you know what you're doing. I just end up, like, experimentally pulling everything and then futzing around and hoping for the best. Hoping that eventually it'll all work. That should be a jot of time done. Okay. We have the skull cap, we have the moon moss, we technically can fix the problem. But you know what? We also have some Museum of Magic stuff to try and complete. I actually have that there. Let's see. I think the dungeon would be some of the last stuff. We can pretty much automatically get Cold Rust. So I think that might just be what we do. Yeah, let's just pick up some Cold Rust while we're down here for the museum. Oh dear, that is far more than we needed. And that is a much bigger thing. This is one of those elements of the exploration that I kind of wish that I'd been able to put way more development into early on, because at this point, I don't know what to do with it. On a king, you bump into the Dark Ruler of the Underlands, Master of Shadows. They apologize and invite you to dinner in their throne room. What purpose does this dinner serve? I think this is perhaps the 3rd time, maybe the 4th that we've gotten this. On the first one, of course, they opened the portal to the strange. They had some sort of purpose for doing so. But because I couldn't think of anything at the time, it's just kind of faded into the background. No, this is the 4th time, because there were 2 other times where I was very focused on trying to deal with the Baron. And so this very much took a back seat to, I need to get rid of the goddamn Baron. So at this point, I'm genuinely not certain what to do with this. You know, what is the Dark Ruler of the Underlands Master of Shadows? What do they want? What are they trying to do? I don't know. It's possible they just want to, I don't know, exist in relative peace and quiet. Maybe they're unbothered by all of these adventurers coming through. Maybe they find it generally amusing, in a way. Maybe this is a being that's so far out of the reach of your standard adventurer that it doesn't really matter to them that their domain is semi-regularly invaded. So, why hang out with the witch? Professional courtesy, perhaps? Huh. In a way, maybe they're in a similar-ish position. In a way, they somewhat look out for their domain, their area, and they can respect anybody in a similar position to them in another area. They might show the same general courtesy to the Reeve of High Rannoch, if he was in the habit of traipsing through the dungeon, at least. As it is, we're the closest thing to a representative for High Rannoch that tends to show up, and also doesn't immediately take a swing for him. So, you know, that might be encouraging. They would have known Agnes from before. We've probably brought up Agnes being missing before, but now we have a lot more information. The Dark Ruler, their knowledge is confined to their domain, to the Hero's Hollow, to this dungeon. For the most part, at least. But they're in a position where they might hear things from those that travel a bit more. Maybe the next time I get a bit of information, perhaps it will come from this individual, or from a messenger of them. I feel like, again, it would have been interesting if I'd deliberately developed it a little bit more early on. To go, okay, is this perhaps an actual villain? Do they have some sort of ulterior motive? And to actually think that through, and have hints of it from the beginning. But because I didn't do that, I'm just gonna carry on with it as it is. After that... I can't remember if I moved this down for that event or not already. I don't think I did. So I'm just gonna do so now. I also don't have a great, count of the things that I did move it down for. So I'm just gonna carry on from there. Moving on into more foraging. I think that Ghost Goo is reasonable to go for. -2 in winter. They're more common, I guess. Or at least the goo coalesces more readily. That brings it from 6 down to 4. It's magic, so that brings it down to 2. I am going to get this no matter what, at the very least on foraging points. We definitely have a Ghost Goo. There we go. So. Ghost Goo, Ghost Goo. What does that do for Jack? The Jack is the Mimic. We've already gotten the Mimic, so there isn't really a second one. Oh, that's another thing that I do sort of wish this game had, is replacement features or events. One or two of them kind of have something. something like the golem one, where it's like, hey, just write an entry in the journal about what the golem's been doing recently when you come across the place where you found them. I don't think there's anything, though, for the mimic. I think the mimic is actually under tools. Hold on. Golem helper. Yeah, once you've prepared the golem, the Moonbreaker Mountain event changes to this. But there's nothing like that for the mimic. And yeah, that would just be a nice little bonus thing to have replacement events that you can, so to speak, stick over the top of spent ones. Both for things that can be spent, for things that can be changed, kind of like the village kid running through the garden. And maybe even one or two bonus ones for, hey, if you get to a point where you want to change a thing, where you feel like it's spent, where you feel like it's come up too often, here are some swap outs of various sorts. I realize that could probably be a little tricky because usually in the various areas you have the lower numbers be either less beneficial or something like that, and then the higher ones are either more powerful, more meaningful, things like that. Like, you draw a king in any of the areas, you're bumping into the Dark Ruler. You are finding something very unique, like the dragon with the moonstone. You're finding something like Basbata in the Meltwater Loch, or something like that, usually. So I can understand, like, wanting to keep that pattern, but it's not absolute, so But that is my digression. It is not important right now. It's just basically a null event at this point. The Mimic isn't here right now. Well, to be fair, the Mimic is probably following me around, ready to run back to the village for literally any sort of a task or errand. I just don't have any for it. Alright. I think that we can just real quick find a hermit snail that's also an automatic, no matter what we draw. On a 6, we have ended up in the cells again down the chute, so that decreases the timer by another 1, but that's okay. We landed on something, found a hermit snail attached to it, and... Excuse me. Take just a little bit of time to get on out of there. So, there is, as always, a risk of decreasing timers in the dungeon. But I think we have enough wiggle room to get a not quite guaranteed skull cap. That's right, it is a 5 right now because of winter. Let's just go for a skull cap. Excellent. A 10. You take the chance to flick through some of the old books in the ruined library and find a book on something very unexpected or useful. What is it? Note down an excerpt from the book. Magical sabotage, 101 ways to make problems into somebody else's. 101 ways to become somebody else's problem without getting caught. Agnes has definitely read this. There we go, I think I narrowed the title down just a little bit better. Magical Sabotage and You, 101 ways to become someone else's problem, parentheses, without getting caught. Just for fun. Just for fun. Alright. So that is our skullcap gotten. that is a bit of time spent, and that is enough for us. We are zipping right back home. And right on out of there. Alright. So we've got boiled mushroom spores, skullcap spores, and crushed up moon moss. Huh. I can only imagine that this potion has a very earthy sort of taste. There we go. Okay, so here's the fun thing. Is, we are covering up that very earthy sort of taste with an absolute metric ton of sweetener. Like, this isn't even funny at this point, except it really is. So I'm just going to use a bit of honey from the hive, because we don't want to overdo it too badly, do we now? Oh gosh, alright. Yeah, this game I think needs a cap for sweetener, and anything beyond that cap is not beneficial. All right. So let's see. What do we call this potion? It's something for anti-magnetic thumb. I keep thinking grounded because of earthy flavor and stuff like that, but grounding is for electrical stuff. It doesn't necessarily make sense for a magnet per se. I realize that electromagnetic is a thing, but it just doesn't feel right. At the same time, it's all I can think about. What's the opposite of magnetic? I don't think there is an opposite per se. I'm just calling it grounding brew. I've got no other term for it. Anyhow, yeah, okay. Grounding brew is done, and now, again, we have the funny part. Candy rock, 4 points of sweet. Something repulsive. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. Repulsive is a terrible name to have to give to a potion, to be very fair. Something repulsive. Repulsive, repel. Repelling. Trying to think of something that alliterates with an R. Yeah, that's not coming up very easily in my mind. Something repulsive. Repulsive something. I can think of, like, a round as in a round of drinks. Repulsive round. Obstrued is archaic term, according to English Dictionary. Interesting. It makes me almost think of also, like, abjure, which is to, which has, like, implications of pushing away or blocking or things like that. Huh, hold on. Ablative. It's making me... It's a grammatical case, but I think it's also something else. I love it when a dictionary definition is like, here's this adjective. It's of or relating to a noun that is the same as the adjective, basically. Ablative, of or relating to ablation. That is not helping me, thank you very much. Surgical removal, loss of a part by melting or vaporization. I don't think that's quite what I'm after, actually. Tending to ablate, remove or destroy by cutting, abrading, or evaporating. That's not what I'm after. Ablative, I'm thinking of the grammatical thing, I think. Where it's like, let's see, of relating to or being a grammatical case that typically marks a person, place, or thing from which someone or something else is separated. So basically, ab being, like, away. Ab out of, ab away from, that sort of thing. So I almost want to use it, but also it's, there it is. Etymology is like, from a past word that's like to carry away or remove. Which, removal being different from magnetic makes sense. But I feel like the definition has changed too much to really, really work. It's very archaic. But whatever, it's also my game and I can do what I want. Huh. Abstrusion solution? I'm doing abstrusion solution. Abstrusion might not be an actual word, but I'm taking it from abstrude, and I am doing as I will. So it's the abstrusion solution from now on. Okay, I was in the middle of counting up how much sweetness is going into this thing. So there's 4 points of sweet from that. 1 from the fox, 1 from the honey of the hive. So we are once again at 5 points of sweet, which with all of the bonuses to silver and stuff is once again 120 silver. What the hell? I cannot imagine that Viola is like willfully charging this much. I think this is just how much money is in bags that are given to her in appreciation. Like Elgiva is clearly sitting there in the background going, like, oh, you really appreciated that? Well, you know, it's always good to be appreciated, and just hinting until they add a little bit more on top. Really? But Viola is not asking 120 silver for a potion. Like, I feel like Viola is operating on a pay-what-you-want system, in a way. It's just that there is societal pressure that makes sure she's paid very well. Okay. Alright. Let's go ahead and scoot through the downtime real quick. Elgiva is going to be sent on another errand. Time for her to learn how some things are difficult to find in the winter. She is going to be splashing around in the edges of the loch and the bog, trying to find deep reeds that unfortunately have retreated for the winter because they're at a 10 instead of a 4 to find. She'll be fine. She will do just fine on that. It's okay. Where the heck is it? How far did I scroll? There it is. Alright, so, oh god, I am all over the place. Just putting my little scroll wheel in the wrong place. Okay. So, she shall be doing that for a while. We can honestly probably just go for more stuff. It's been a bit. Let's go down into the strange and just see if we can pick up some of these things. It's been a bit. Okay. A land of friendly demons, errant magic, and impossible structures. Now I need to actually do correctly the thing that I cannot gain foraging points in the strange unless I have a working tourists map. I do not currently have a working tourists map because the strange restructured since the last time I got it. I did forget in the past that I need that in order to get foraging points. It's just points are off the table. Now for the first one, Dark Water, that doesn't really matter. It is strange 1, it's magic. I am going to find it no matter what card I pull. So, on a 9. Yeah, the ground beneath your feet rumbles and shakes. You look around for shelter, but notice none of the demons seem to worry. Some hold their wares steady, others pick up children, but none panic. After a few minutes, the rumbling stops, but the city has changed. Your tourist map is now useless. I didn't have one, so that's fine. Lose all your foraging points. Yeah, didn't have any, but that's okay. Basically, this is in the middle of us going down to the market and picking up a little bit of dark water. It's easy to get hold of down here. There's just fountains. You just take it and go. So basically, if we had a tourist map, it would now be useless, but we already didn't. So yeah, we are now going for, let's say, Basilisk's Gaze. That is strange 5. Magic brings it down to 3. 10. We certainly have gotten the Basilisk's Gaze with our wand to collect. You get swept up by a walking tour. The crowd moves so fast and so tight together that you can't get out until they're done. Write one thing you learn about the city. Decrease timer by 1. I think that the walking tour ends on basically a small, like, I guess, zoo of sorts? Petting zoo? Some things you don't want to pet, though, such as the basilisks. So, the basilisks, are basically on display as a, curiosity of the city. I think that the thing that is learned is the city and the strange used to be a place where basilisks would congregate, and there was there were a few spots of trouble in basically settling and building in the area because basilisks would keep on digging underneath foundations and ended up being kind of pests that had to keep getting removed. Eventually, they were able to be relocated to a place outside of the city in the broader area of the strange. Collect a little bit of gaze from one of them. Okay. I think the next thing is potentially just to get some liquid fire. We don't have a lot of time left in the strange in our downtime, but at the very least we will be able to get pretty much right away with magic downing the value of it. So it's really just a question of what happens as we are collecting it. So, on a 5 in the strange. Interesting, this is a new one. out past the wall of the town, you come across a colorful camp of mechanical people with strange glass boxes for heads. They cannot speak. Instead, they show you a video. What do they show you, and what do you think they mean? Every time you get this result, write about the strange conversations you have with them. Interesting, interesting, interesting. So. Oh gosh, what do they show and what do I think they mean? Because they could be trying to communicate something that Viola absolutely does not understand, to be very fair. So I'm just sitting here trying to get my head into the head of a TV head and go, well, okay, you've met a stranger in this place, who's come up and said hello. What do you show? Well, first video is probably just a little clip of a little 3D humanoid figure waving hello. I think they're skipping from like clip to clip, bit to bit. I think that one of the standout videos in this little piecemeal conversation might be one about like, you know, this is a camp, do you not want to live in the city? And as an answer, there's a video clip of like a caravan of it's a montage of people walking, people traveling, and then a montage of strange landscapes and environments, things that would fit in with the strange, but bizarre, absolutely bizarre things, waterfalls flying upwards, fire flowing down, vast seas of gems and beads, forests made of fabric that ripples in the wind. I think the assumption is that they travel much in the same way that Piera does, the grandmother witch in the flying cottage. Because they want to, because that is the life that they have chosen for themselves. It's just what they do. You know, I hadn't read all of the various events, so I didn't know that was in there. That's an interesting one. I really do need to do more in the strange, just because there are some things that I know I haven't gotten. Okay. I think that's enough, as we're not likely to get anything else really in the strange right now. Actually, we could just Hail Mary it. Let's just give one shot. If we get a 5 or better, we could get salamander urine, otherwise we'll just head on out. A 5 is just enough. That's just basically us spending a little bit more time with the people with TVs for heads. asking some more questions, seeing some more video clips, visual responses. Nothing terribly new. With that, though, it's time to head back. Making good progress on the museum collection. Though really, I should probably also make some more wands. Alright. So, let's go ahead and move on to the final week of this month of winter. Oh, I forgot. I'm going to ignore that. I need to recall and reshuffle everything. Now we can do... Okay, it's an 8 anyway. What's an 8 in expert? Is it something... Oh, good! It's something we've never done before. Alright. Okay. Actually, before we get into this, this has run a little longer than usual. I do want to finish it. However, I do need to do a quick BRB because this is usually around the time that I would stop. So I'm just going to go ahead and put on... Where is my screensaver? I fixed it. It now bounces on the screen itself. So I'm going to be right back. Let me know if it ever hits the corner. I am back. And it hit the corner just then. Do you see that? I saw it. Alright, so BRB sign down, screensaver down. Sorry about that. Had to run for just that 1 or 2 minutes. Unfortunately. So, I'm back now. We are going to deal with an expert ailment called Saturday Night Fever. A full-body nerve dysfunction that makes it look like the afflicted is dancing, albeit terribly. Exhaustion, embarrassment, and aching feet are common. So, we are dealing with, I don't think we've ever had the tag feet before. I really don't. Feet 3. Pain 3. Nerves 2. Hot 1. Alright, our timer is 6. Which, of course, bounces up to an 11 with all the bonuses we have. Consequences, if this timer runs down, are A passing bard notices their moves and gives them a future in show business. What happens to them? You lose 4 reputation, probably because they've gone into show business. So, what are we dealing with? First order of business, I think, is to check our special locale upgrades and just see if there's any chance that we have any of these in here. Feet, pain, nerves, and hot. We do have nerves and pain in an innocent suffering, but it's only powerful enough for nerves 2 because it's not a 3-star and pain is 3. So technically we do have this locked down. Okay. Burn, boils, and rash. Dehydration and lungs. Alright. So nothing else that's going to help here, though we are, of course, going to have the 4 points of sweet, as always. But that is for the future. So, feet, pain, and hot. Hot, I think, is relatively easy. It's only a 1-star, so feet seems like the thing I need to focus on, unfortunately. That is a sentence that is terrible out of context. I am very well aware. We are going to ignore it. We're going to briefly acknowledge it, and then ignore it, and then move on, because context is always important. Now, what the hell cures feet here? Spirit, ghoul, parasite, sleep, magic, curse, and mood, teeth and pain. Senses, magic, rash, all those. Nest scraps will take care of hot very readily. It's a little bit harder to find in the winter, though. So, we can keep that in mind, but we might have to keep looking. Just in case. Okay. Giant spider venom takes care of pain, to be fair. And we don't care about poison at this point. It is 3 stars. Technically, that's feasible. It's dungeon and forest. Is there anything else in the dungeon that can help us here? Parasite infection, teeth, bone, hair, curse and rash. Salamander urine does hot. We don't need anything that powerful, but technically, it's an option. Technically. Frankly, it's, I think, harder to find than even the nest scraps with winter bonus, so I'm fine with staying on that. It's alright. Wart spoils. Yeah, no matter what, we're not getting a perfect thing. I think innocent suffering alone assures that. So I'm not being picky on that regard. Yeah. Cold Rust takes care of hot, actually. And that is right there in the dungeon. So if we go there for the giant spider venom and the Cold Rust, then that is 2 things that we're potentially taken care of. It's purely feet. Like, weird water can be a tag of your choice. That would cover it. Is there a single thing that does feats? Is weird water my only option? Is that a unique tag? Like, what the heck is going on there? Gonna close that. Okay, I'm gonna lock in the fact that we're going for Cold Rust for hot. Dungeon 2. It's technically magic, so it's minimum 1. Oh, we also haven't decided who has it, but we will get to that. We will get to that. I went straight into this. Let's see, giant spider venom. We're just going to go ahead and put that here. Technically, I don't need to use innocent suffering in that case because it does pain and nerves. I don't need multiple things for it if it does both the things on a single distillation. So, you know, moot point. It's the same thing no matter what. Dungeon 7... one poison, which we're just gonna have to mark a moonstone for, probably. The hell do we do for feats? I'm gonna keep this on weird water just in case. First, though, I need to check the loch and the mountain. Just in case. Because there might be something in one of those. I do not know what could be in the loch that would deal with feats, but who knows? Where the heck? Where the heck am I searching? It's not there. I'm beginning to wonder if there's nothing. There it is, Nimbus Fish. Nimbus Fish does it. Is that the only option? I'm just curious now, because that's the only tag that I've seen for feet in all of this. Unless yeah, that seems to be the only one, is Nimbus Fish. I'm just gonna assume it's because it makes you float a little bit. That little tiny flight bladder. Technically we need scales, but whatever. Huh. I think that's the only reagent that fixes that tag. So it's like, basically it's either that or you're going for the weird water. Isles 3. It's an animal, so I don't get any bonuses. However, that being said, I'm pretty sure that I've... wrong thing. I'm pretty sure I've linked them. Yeah, Hero's Hollow direct to Cloud Isles. I don't even have to bounce. Okay. Well, tell you what, I know exactly what I'm going for. Also, I don't need that open. There we go. Okay. So, who has this? A heart is a villager, but not necessarily a villager that we've cured before, because we're not getting a repeat patient on a spade. So this is going to be a villager that we have not yet treated. It's going to be somebody new. I don't think I have any preset villagers at this point who we haven't dealt with. Let's see. Who has Saturday Night Fever? Excuse me. You know what? Do you remember back in the spring videos where we helped a farmer find his lost pigs? Which, by the way, would be a heck of an event to deal with now because we have 8 areas to search and not just 4. The farmer who lost his pigs, Glon. I feel like Glon is the funniest possible person to have dance fever. Alright, so we have our potion list, ingredients list. We have Glon the farmer dealing with the Saturday Night Fever and the dance, dance, dance. And we are going to the dungeon and the Cloud Isles. I'm going to go to the Cloud Isles first, just because that should be relatively quick, hopefully. And I would like to get them out of the way before going to the dungeon. So, Cloud Isles, let's do this thing. A 4 is going to be just enough to get us what we need as Nimbus Fish. But what else happens? Oh, okay. Okay, this is once again the Flying Cottage. This is Piera and Cayenne. Gosh, we ran into them just last week. So what are they up to at this point that they're back in the area again? I'm going to say they have, they were going to leave last time we met them, but then there were a few maintenance issues that came up, and Pierre has made it very clear that if you do not make time for maintenance as soon as you notice something, or even before, it was going to make time for itself, so better to take care of it. So they're in the middle of just finishing that up. Also, because the last time you want to have maintenance issues on a flying cottage is, say, in the middle of a winter storm, which, you know, 'tis the season. So they're going to be handling that. They're not in a spot where they necessarily need help. They don't need, like, dedicated time. They will likely be out of here, basically, before the end of the week. So that is just fine. One jot of time for the event. And then we are using our teleport stone to instantly get down into Hero's Hollow. With that, we have Cold Rust, which is easy, and then Giant Spider Venom, which is very much not. So, oh gosh, let's go for the Spider Venom. Actually, I should check my stuff on hand real quick, just to see if there's anything that I can put off getting very, very easily and without risk. Cold Rust, I have something on hand, so that's pretty simple to just get around. Yeah. Yeah, Cold Rust will be second. I'll go for the Giant Spider Venom first. So, we are looking to milk some giant spiders. 9 is more than enough to pass the threshold of 7. Jump that down by 1. And while wandering the deeper sections of the dungeon where the spiders apparently live, you come across a scared-looking newbie adventurer. Oh no, is it Ark again? It might be Ark again. They offer you 10 silver for you to lead them out of the dungeon. Decrease timer by 1 if you do. Well, we have time, so I will decrease the timer. I will lead them out of the dungeon. I'm just going to do the 10. Just make it easy. And we'll just get him out of there. That's fine. Alright. After that, to draw a card to see what happens. Okay. Yep. So, I was wondering if we were going to get a Joker or not. Okay. Let's go ahead and see what information we get. And I did say that the next bit might very well come from the Dark Ruler, so this narratively makes sense, makes it work, given that we're in the dungeon right now. Interesting. Okay. This says a message reaches you from the witch's arch enemy, something that we did not really discover unless you want to consider the collective interests of the mercantile and magic guild of the big city. A message reaches you from the witch's arch enemy. How is it delivered, and what does it say? Interesting. Trying to decide. That's the closest thing I have to an archenemy for Agnes. But why would they be sending a message? Is the question now. Yeah, let's see. So the thing that they were doing that she got involved in likely was because of Margot, because of some shifting problems down in the area south of the loch. Agnes might have gone there and done a few things to mess some stuff up. And who knows what happened to her after that. So what on earth is going on that they would send a message of any kind, let alone through the Dark Ruler of the Underworld? Or he would be able to intercept it. What is going on that they've sent a message? It's always the hardest thing when there's something very specific and it's like, what does the thing say? And I'm like, I am on the spot. I am spitballing things out loud. I am not sitting down and writing detailed, like, diary entries for this character. It's a very different dynamic. A message reaches you. How is it delivered and what does it say? Well, clearly it's being delivered through the Dark Ruler. Maybe not by their own hand, but definitely by an agent. Basically, as we are exploring around the Hollow, escorting, we just escorted Ark out of there, and... It feels right to say it's a raven, but also they're so underground most of the time that it feels wrong to say it's a raven. Maybe it's a salamander. Not necessarily one of the fiery ones. Maybe there's some other varieties. Little shadowmander. That comes scurrying up with a folded up piece of paper in its mouth. The message is from the archenemy. The message isn't necessarily to Viola per se. So I think that the Dark Ruler is passing this along. Ooh. Here we go. Here we go. The message was to, actually, the Dark Ruler of the Underworld, Master of Shadows. And it's an offer of a little bit of lucrative business if he should be interested in brokering a deal. And they are bringing up some highly successful ventures previously in the mountains, currently south of the loch, and that they have interest in expanding some operations to the north side of the loch. They understand that this is, the underground specifically is part of this Dark Ruler's evident domain, and so they're interested in reaching some mutually beneficial agreement on behalf of their peoples and their shareholders. Smiley face. The note comes with a jotted note on the side from the Dark Ruler, saying simply that, I believe this would be something of some interest to you. Okay. Okay. So we have that in hand. Move that down one, I think. We still need to find that cold rust. We do so very quickly. An 8, I think, is one of those things that's either a little bit of a dud or a little bit of not very much. It's the puzzle room. I think at this point, we're coming across the puzzle room, and whatever it is, we do not want to deal with it. We take one look at the puzzle, take one look at the opposite door, level the wand, and make the door open. We are not going to be spending any further time here necessarily. Technically we can, but we're not going to. Going to head straight back. Get immediately home. Glon is doing a little bit of a jig out in the yard. Looks a bit shamefaced on seeing us coming up the drive and tries to explain something about a bit of crockery. It was on a shelf. There was a sudden elbow spasm. He really couldn't help it. It's okay. It's okay. Crockery can be replaced. Just stay put for a second. We go in. We've got crushed cold rust that's going to make it very blue. We've got distilled giant spider venom that's going to make it very poison. We've got crushed nimbus fish scales that's going to make it kind of gritty glittery. Alright. I'm going to run the moonstone over it. I'm going to use the same little jot thing here that I use for the sweeteners or honeys. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Drop a little bit of honey in there. Okay. It's almost a waste of a moonstone to use it on a single poison when I have, like, the fox and stuff, but frankly, I have 5 vials of Purify water and we're not going to be playing this that much longer. It's fine. So, crushed cold rust, crushed nimbus fish scales, giant spider venom that is neutralized by a moonstone. Whole things get sweetened in, like, 12 ways to Sunday. Between the hive, the fox, the candy rock, it's at 6 points of sweet now. It's ridiculous. Okay. Oh boy. Saturday Night Fever. We're going to call it the dance breaking potion. And it's going to break that fever. And it's going to make the dancing stop. And it is going to, honestly make this guy start vibrating with the amount of sugar that's in it, but he'll be fine. He will be just fine with that. So, oh god, the calculation's all off. Now, it's no longer 120, but it's very close. Because I have an extra 6, so it's 126. Because, yes, extra 4 for the extra sweet, plus the 50%, so yeah. Oh boy. So, 292 plus 126 is 418. Honestly, if that all keeps up, and it probably will, we're basically going to get a full, giant, a full giant, like, locale upgrade pretty much every set of 4 weeks, which isn't going to be quite enough to get all of them by the end of this, but that's okay. That is okay. Oh, we can just sell more wands, it's fine. Okay. For downtime, for the final downtime of this, where shall the apprentice be sent? Quite frankly, I think it's time to send the apprentice, fishing. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and give the apprentice a little something something to do. They can go hunting Siren Song. It's not terribly difficult. They'll do fine. Besides, it's probably not a bad thing to have them be introduced to Seraphina the Siren at this point. I'm sure they will meet multiple times. Okay. So. The next things on downtime are basically just going to be, probably making some more wands at this point. Since we have these all on hand, let's just go ahead and make a handful of wands using these various things. So we've already made one of Innocent Suffering, but we can make one again. Foot fungus is a god-awful thing. We're going to cram that into some of the bog-blackened, like, willow wood. And nobody gets to ask any questions about what the hell is in there. Don't worry. This wand is perfectly functional, and you don't have to worry about what's inside. Don't break it. Whatever you do, do not break this wand in half. You do not want what's inside to get out, to be frank. Okay. I think that she's really pouring just time and energy into making wands just to get that energy out. The glacier moss, let's do that with the floating birch. Cynic ivy. Oh, what's the most cynical wood? Probably either the shipwreck or the mahogany. Shipwreck salvage. So that is 1, 2, 3. We'll make one more. Candy rock seems like a ridiculous thing to put in the core of a wood, of a wand, but I'm going to do it. Gonna do it. Candy rock and... It only makes sense to do glittering oak. That's all fairy stuff, it's sweetness. Alright. So technically those each sell for 50 silver. I get 50% more. So total of 200 plus another 100 for 300 silver. That is ridiculous. Oh, I'm cheesing this so hard. Okay, yeah, I am gonna make sure that I get every single locale that I can. So, we are going to sell all of those. We are going to get another special locale upgrade. Get up there. Get up there. Bold, underline. We want, on this one, I'm gonna just roll my little d6 because I now have 3 things and I can't draw a card of that as easily. So 1 to 2 is Basement Hollow, 3 to 4 is Greenhouse, 5 to 6 is Meltwater Pond. That is a 3, so that is the Glimmerwood Greenhouse. Okay. So we need 5 things, 5 reagents from the forest. Glimmerwood greenhouse made of mage glass for its magic focusing properties. This greenhouse will let you grow forest reagents as naturally as possible. Scramble Bramble, clearly that is the winner. Alright, no, I think that what we really need is probably the amethyst antlers. I do not know how I am growing them necessarily within this greenhouse, but the rules say what the rules say. I could also do Snake's Promise. Technically the bog it's easy to find. It's magic, it's bog. Amethyst antlers have been the bane of my existence in the past. I am going to be collecting those. Oh, also moss and be crushed. There we go, can be. Amethyst antlers is happening. What else makes sense? I've already got Snake Ivy on the mountain, so I don't necessarily need it from the forest. Honestly, forest is not necessarily like a high value one, just because so many of them are relatively easy to get a hold of. It is a very early sort of thing to be able to grab. I'm grabbing Surgeon Sap. I will be forever vindicated on having Surgeon Sap on hand at all times. Yeah, I don't know. What else do I just want on hand at all times? Glitter Snow, maybe? I think Glitter Snow is fair just because of the wild swings it takes seasonally, even if it's not going to matter for the rest of this game because it is winter and that's where we're ending it. So, honestly, it might not be the best thing to grab. All things considered. So, okay, Surgeon Sap, Amethyst Antlers. Maybe a Snake's Promise? It is so easy to get in the bog because of the wand and the magic and all that. It really is. It hardly matters. The antlers are the hard one. Snake Ivy's the hard one, but I already have it on the mountain. Giant Spider Venom, I could just go ahead and have on hand. That's fine. Okay. Forest. Scramble Brambles, Shield Cap, Fairy Dust. Most of these are not particularly useful, or they're magic and easy to get for me. Felt Fungus I already have. Wild Rose. It's mid-level. It's relatively easy, but not like... It's not trivialized by having, like, magic and stuff on hand, so... I guess I'll go ahead and put Wild Rose, because I also need some idea of beauty to balance out this stupid giant spider venom. What's the last thing I should get? Hair of Boar? No, it's very low level. I think that I want something high level, like mid to high level at the very least. Snake's Promise is so easy to get. It's so easy to get. Is it even worth it? Alright, by comparison, Snake's Promise I can easily get. Princess Toad stays at a 5 because animal in the bog, and my animal... I've been deciding that the crow's animal forage help is only applicable in the forest. It's probably not meant to be. It's probably meant to be something I can get anywhere, but I've not been playing it that way, so maybe another time if I ever do it in the future. I'll just go ahead and slap Princess Toad in there. I've never really used it. An adorable little creature, the Princess Toad is a pinkish color with red lips. If I had more space, I would talk at length about their funny little courtship dance. So, okay. I have my 5. We'll save those changes. We'll go ahead and subtract 5 from there. There we go. God, the silver cometh and the silver goeth away. With that, we have built a Glimmerwood greenhouse on the property. Okay. The very last things with our time. I think I'm going to narratively dedicate to giving myself another automatic Joker pull. Because I did say I wanted the last thing in each of these last sessions, well, aside from the festival, probably, to be more discoveries, on the witch in the finale. So, I'm going to go ahead and draw. Okay. A jack it's too early for a jack. So I'm going to redraw it. Jack, king, and queen is like, if you feel you have enough information or prepared, you can go and mount the rescue mission. I want that to happen at earliest in the second batch of weeks. At earliest. This is too early. 9. The witch's familiar comes to you for help. What do they need? Why now? Alright. So I think it's time to determine what the witch's familiar is in terms of animal type. What is a 5? A 5 is a corvid, a raven, a crow, a magpie. Blue jays and other things are also technically corvids, though they are not often recognized as such. This feels very fitting for Agnes somehow. So, the witch's familiar. Shall it be a crow? I think a crow sounds pretty decent. Let's see. I'm rolling for a potential name. Honestly, Ingrid sounds like a good name for a crow familiar. We have not met before. All right. Ingrid the Crow has come to us. Why now? I think that now is the first time that Ingrid has been able to get out to come to us. Ingrid might not know exactly what has happened to Agnes. She might not be able to answer that for us right away. Ingrid just knows that Agnes went to deal with the problems down south of the loch. She knows that there was big magic, deep magic that happened. And that very suddenly she couldn't sense Agnes. There was a barrier around the town, around that entire area, that even Ingrid couldn't get through. She spent a couple of days attempting. And then investigators showed up, representatives of the interest. They recognized Ingrid as a witch's familiar and caught her, caged her for interrogation, questioning, investigation in general. Ingrid has been basically with them, actually up in the city, for the past very nearly year. And they happened to get careless and Ingrid got out. In all that time, she has not been able to sense or get through to Agnes. In all that time, from things she's overheard while there, they haven't been able to solve the barrier either. For the most part, it seems like people have kind of forgotten that that area exists to a certain degree. If it's brought up in conversation, then they go, oh yeah, sure, I know that place. But most people who are not specifically focused on the knowledge of the area, specifically thinking about it, wondering about it, anything like that, are not considering it, are not thinking about it at all. Caravans just seem to go around the place. Travelers just seem to not consider visiting there. And it's a blank spot that has been growing more and more. Ingrid thinks that something went wrong, that Agnes attempted something, and the magic was either too big or reacted to something in the area very, very badly. She doesn't know what. She just knows that it's very possible that Agnes is still in the middle of it. Agnes and Margot. The only question is how to get in, because in all this time, the entire combined might of the interest has not been able to get in. They've been attempting. They might even be making progress that Ingrid doesn't know about. So the when and the how are very, very much open questions. Alright, and on that note, we're going to go ahead and leave this on the cusp of week 5 of winter, and next time I am able to come by and play. Thanks for hanging out, thanks for the comments in the chat, have a good one. Until next time, bye.